Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, and otherworldly and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, creepinitrealshow.com. Without further ado, welcome to this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show. I am 1/3 of the baddest hosts on the planet, and I am Moni, coming to you from California, where we're getting that June first day of summer 90-degree weather. So good stuff. We're going to be talking about the Conjuring series and the quote-unquote true stories behind that entire franchise. But first, we're going to bring in our co-hosts. I would like to start with Mr. Yardley. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the weather here in Georgia. It's been really nice over the last few weeks, and I'm trying to enjoy it as much as I can before July hits.
Oh, yeah. Are you getting that kind of sticky humidity yet, or is it still just...
Nah, it's been great. Like, mid to high 80s, not really that humid and windy. So, I'm really digging it, but you already know what it is in like July and August. So, yeah. Plenty of bird butt to go around in Georgia. Yeah.
And I hear that giggling about suffocating back there. Christy, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Yes, it is. It's brutal. I remember it's been a couple of pretty mild summers recently, but literally don't even want to go to your mailbox after 10 a.m. because by the time you get to your mailbox, you're just like completely drenched and sweaty and gross, and it feels like you're gonna, suffocate. It's so humid. So yeah, it's good times around here in the summer. But can't complain. What are you going to do? So yeah, everything's good with me. I saw a kick-ass snake in my yard up in the mountains this weekend. It was beautiful. Made me happy because it was a huge rat snake and they eat all the critters. So I'm like, yes, sir. Welcome. Please stay. Don't leave. You can have the whole yard. Just don't go in my house and eat all the critters so they don't shit all over my porch. So I'm very happy about that. It's the little things in life,
Definitely.
And my child graduated and is working at Home Depot now. And yeah, shit's moving along.
Nice.
You know what? So cool. I will say that there's one negative thing. Chris, you ever heard of Love is Love Farm, that organic farm that's out in Decatur? It's like this. It's a farm that lots of people go and get, their plants and vegetables and stuff. It's an awesome place. But they sent out an email today, and I like to garden. I like doing that stuff. Then they sent out an email today saying that they're basically moving. It's a good thing. They're going to be able to have their own land and all the proper acreage. Now, obviously, you might have to move out from DeKalb County to get that. But then they sent out this email saying, everybody's all happy, like you're getting your land. And then in the email, it says that they're moving out of Decatur. So they're moving, I had never heard of Mansfield, Georgia, but it's like 45 minutes west of Atlanta. And then they were saying that the farm is 45 minutes west of that. And I'm like, well, looks like I'm not going out there anymore. So I have to say that was one negative that I've had, the past few days. I'm like, why in the hell are y'all moving like an hour and a half out, like from where y'all are at? I mean, I'm happy for them, but I'm almost like, well, damn, looks like I'll get my seeds some damn where else. But anyway, I had to, nobody's driving way out there. You know what I mean?
No, not us city folk. We don't even like driving OTP, let alone that far.
Yeah.
This kills me because in California, everything is car and everything is like, I'll drive to the next county to do this or do that. So it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, I think that their logic is, well, they were saying that obviously there's more room, but they'll be able to feed more to the community. And I'm like, the community is,
Not
it's
there.
up here. You know what I'm saying? It's not out there. But anyway, I had to throw
I got
it
a
in.
better rent, I guess, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got land. I mean, whatever they do, I'm pretty sure that with the land that they have, they're going to be able to send more food to more restaurants and stuff. You know, and I know that they do get things, but maybe it's just me being selfish at the convenience of like, but I'm like, how dare y'all move that far away? But anyway, the only reason why I'm throwing that in is I just so happened to look at the email again and it pissed me off and I had to say something. Anyway, well,
Talking about
shaking his fist. Get off my lawn with your shit.
I'm kidding. Talking about seeds, we bought a bunch of wildflower seeds because we live our yard is on the side of a mountain, so we can't really do a lot of lawn work on it. And so we started spreading wildflower seeds in the lawn. And I walked outside and I was like, Rick, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just out here spreading my seed. I'm like, don't you go inside privately for that? Anywho, I'll be here all week.
Well, on that note, coming to talk about what we've been watching, and Yardley, as usual, has some interesting stuff that I don't think I've even ever heard of. Can you tell us about it?
There's this docuseries that was dropped on Netflix. I believe it was last week. It's called High on the Hog, and it's based on the book of the same name by food historian Jesse B. Harris, and it's a 4-part series. And it starts off in Benin, West Africa, and then it comes to the United States, South Carolina to Texas, Philly to New York, and it kind of reveals the African American food tradition around the table and its relationship to Black history and American history. But the way that they tell the docuseries is it starts in West Africa, you know, before the slave trade, and showed how like a lot of like foods like watermelon, all of these things ended up coming to America. And then it deals with the culinary traditions and all of these different stages from slavery all the way through, you know, the 1960s to currently. It's done really dope though. It's very educational. It's directed very well. And obviously the food that they're cooking is like amazing, and it's all like regional. And they're probably run about, 45 minutes to an hour a show, but it's well put together, and I would recommend that. And another show is called Sexify, and that's on Netflix as well. And it's basically to build an innovative sex app and win a tech competition. A sexually inexperienced student and her friends must explore the daunting world of intimacy. It's a Polish series. It's the first season. And it's also dubbed for those who don't want subtitles, but I like watching dubbed foreign shows and reading the subtitles because it's all jacked up. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's a kind of a dramedy. It's very quirky, but it's pretty cool. It's something that I think both of y'all would probably, you know, laugh at. So I would recommend those two.
You come up with the coolest recommendations, and I love, like, not only have I like never heard of them in a good way, like I need to have this exposure, but they're always really like different, and you're like your interests are diversified. So I love it. Thank you for all your great recommendations for sure. Are you there?
Oh, I would say definitely. I actually pressed mute.
I was like, Yardley's the best, and he's just like, fuck you, I'm gonna stay here.
Definitely got High on the Hog. It's well produced, and it actually make me want to probably check out the book as well. So yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
We'll definitely check it out. Just don't give Yardley a compliment. Because
man, leave a girl hanging. It's like I did a verbal high five and then just stood there for a while.
I didn't realize that it was that long though. It didn't seem like it was that long. I heard the compliment though, and I was
I heard you. I just chose not to acknowledge. No, just kidding. It's like giving a cat a compliment. They're like, we know.
Yeah, exactly. Made me.
Oh, and on that good laugh. Christy, you've been watching something very cool again.
Already seen again and already recommended, but we'll go ahead and do it again. Like I've said, I've been a complete, just repeating myself for the last few months. But I am still remodeling the house, and so I'm not watching a lot of TV. The end is so near. Like basically everything that I can do is done. It's just getting that motherfucker pictures taken and putting it up on the market. So I officially hung my last. Yes, I finished painted my very last thing and hung my very last repainted gorgeous navy kitchen cabinet doors, and I'm hanging cabinets. I'm adjusting cabinet doors. Like, I'm just a regular little, what's their names? Joe and Diana, or Joanna and Di, or what's Joe? Chip. Joanna and Chip Gates.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Not Joanna, not Diana. No. Okay. Anyway, so while we were up there, we had some friends come up that are also have like a handyman business, and they really love me. And so they came up and did some stuff for free for me. And while they were up there, we watched a movie, and they had never seen Promising Young Woman. And I had recommended it to them the first time they were up helping me paint. And he was like, what's that movie you were talking about? And at first I thought he was saying about Assassination Nation, because I always recommend that movie to everybody. But I actually recommended Promising Young Woman to him. And so we watched it again. And I'll tell you, I watched it again and I enjoyed it just as much. But there were a few things that stood out to me that maybe I was just really dense the first time, but I don't think I really got. And one of them is, I really think she wanted to die. Like, I think she wanted to die.
When I watched it the first time. Yeah, I'm curious too.
She wanted to die. I think she made it that way. I think she didn't fight him. I think she made the handcuff loose on purpose. And I think that was her plan. Like, I really feel that way now. It took me the second time because I was devastated. Like, because I loved her character so much. I was like, how can they kill her? She's freaking awesome. This cannot happen. And then I'm like, I knew the texting thing, and I figured, okay, that was her setting that up just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But after the devastation of losing the guy she was in love with and already just spiraling out of control with her friend, I mean, he was the only one that was kind of helping her turn shit around. And then that happened. And I think that betrayal was just too much. I think she just decided to say, fuck it, and set them up in a way, like, by dying. Like, I really think that's what happened. And so that was kind of my big takeaway from the movie. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I love her character so much. I don't know why. I just think she's so freaking cool. And when she spit in that coffee, that was it. She had me at spitting in the coffee. I absolutely adore her. And everybody really loved it. And it was funny, the next morning, everybody was like, wow, that movie just stays with you. And I was like, it really does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
So anyway, I really can't just recommend that again. I couldn't or shouldn't, but I am, because I'm lame and haven't watched anything else. So I'm, again, still relying on these people to give me some good recommendations. So that's all I got.
Oh, I love it. No, it's a great film, guys. You guys should check it out if you haven't already. On to not as great of films, at least in my humble opinion. However, it's got good reviews. It's got like a 6, I want to say. But on Netflix right now, Netflix, yes. Either that or it's on Prime. Either way, it's available to stream right now. It's starring Angelina Jolie and Johnny Barenthal. It's called Those Who Wish Me Dead. Have neither one of you have seen the one where Angelina Jolie is a firefighter lady?
No. This is kind of old or something.
No, it's new.
So this is her ex-husband, right?
This is what? I'm sorry?
That guy, Johnny B, isn't that her ex-husband?
Johnny Barenthal. No, he's the Punisher guy.
Oh, okay.
From The Walking Dead. And yeah, this is one of those films that's also in the theater right now. Oh, I'm sorry. It's HBO Max. I was wrong on both the streaming services. It's on HBO Max right now and in theaters. It's called Those Who Wish Me Dead. And she is she's a firefighter who is suffering from PTSD, who is assigned to one of those like towers in the middle of nowhere in a forest to watch for oncoming fires. And simultaneous to that, this little boy escapes an assassination attempt by some really bad dudes who he knows information from his father's job, so they're trying to hunt him down and kill him. And basically the two meet up and have to try to survive in this forest where there's now a fire and where these bad guys have automatic weapons and are coming to get them. It's an interesting way to spend like 90 minutes or whatever. Like, it's well produced, it's well directed. I just personally, there was too much suspense of disbelief. Like there were so many scenarios where you're like, well, they're dead there and they're dead there and they're dead there, you know? And it's really, almost cartoonish because like, I guess my kids have been watching Home Alone, you know, the movie Home Alone. And you know how the bad guys, like they set the traps and the bad guys get hurt and they get burned and they fall down and all these different things happen to them. Imagine kind of like that, you know, these bad guys have a bunch of stuff happen to them that I'm like, you'd be dead, you'd be dead, you'd be dead. And they're still just like chucking along with their automatic weapons. They're like trying to discreetly, you know, remove this kid, this family from the equation of the information that they know, but they're like torching the forest and like shooting up all these places. Like that's a real discreet way to get rid of evidence and to pretend like nothing happened somewhere. But anyway, that's my review of the movie. Like I said, it's an hour and 40 minutes. No? It's a no from me, dog.
I was like, I'm not sure if you're saying watch it to torture yourself or don't.
I don't know if it's like me post-pandemic. I can still, because I still enjoy like true crime and that kind of stuff, but there's so many joyless films, very self-serious, very ultra-violent, without any like remorse or laughter kind of films coming out right now. And I don't know, like I said, if it's always been that way or if everybody's in that mood because of the pandemic, but this movie has no joy to be found, no redemption. You're just in for people getting the shit beat out of them.
What happened to Angelina Jolie? You said this is a recent movie? Like,
yeah,
what
she's in it. She's in it.
What happened to her? She's trying to find her Tomb Raider days or something?
That's part of also what's funny is she's the firefighter and she's still a bag of antler bones as far as her body. Not to make
jeez.
But like she's supposed to, she's like carrying all this equipment and being such badass and everything. And I'm just like, I don't think she could carry all of that in real life, you know? Yeah. Like, you know, they have all those tests, those rigorous testing that the firemen have to pass. And I just don't think that this woman could do that. But anyway, that's those who wish me dead. And, you know, don't at me or wish me dead for giving your movie back to you.
For dropping I rewatched.
Yeah, right. So you're telling the truth and it hurts. I rewatched Dawn of the Dead, the 2013 Zack Snyder directed film where they hole up in the mall. If you guys remember that one.
I love that one. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Dan, our sometimes guest host, Dan, had not seen it. And so we revisited it. And it was a good reminder to myself that Snyder used to be an okay director. But it holds up and it's got a lot of really cool moments in it. And, you know, and that was one film that is self-serious and relentless in violence and all that, that still is fun to watch for whatever reason. So that's how you stick the ending, I guess. And then the other thing that I just discovered, I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I like haunted asylums in particular. Yeah. You ever heard that before?
Heard that a few times from you.
Discovery Plus, and it's an old series. It's over now. It was only 3 seasons. Has had a series, and it's now on. It's on Travel Channel also, but it's called Ghost Asylum, and it's like super on the nose. It's just like this group of good old boys from Tennessee. Their paranormal investigation group is called the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. And they just literally go to all these abandoned, like tuberculosis hospitals, mental health facilities, mostly in the South. And they also are fucking hilarious because one of the guys fancies himself, he calls himself an inventor. And they'll literally get to a location and just be like, we want to capture this ghost. And they'll literally just like build like a dream catcher cage thing out of stuff that they find at like a local gift shop.
Like swap meet, like a flea market.
And they build these traps and they come back to these like 200-year-old buildings and they put this open cage into the building and now it's going to be kind of hard to see if we catch the ghost. Just like how are you going to know if you catch a ghost? It's invisible. Like, I don't know. Like, do you ask the ghost, are you caught in there? Do you shake the box and see if anything thunks? Like, I don't really understand the show, but it's amazing. I've been watching more stuff because I am completely full of kidney stones and like bleeding right now and all kinds of stuff. So everybody's been babying me and making me stay on the couch. So I had to find something to watch and I ended up watching Ghost Asylum. and watching these guys build cages for ghosts that they wouldn't know if their ghost was in or not. So.
Oh boy. You
Yeah.
really are. Yeah, you found the Redneck TV channel. Congratulations.
Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, sorry to make fun of the accent, but they're straight up from Tennessee and their names are literally like Bobby and, oh no, it's not even Bobby. It's like almost Bobby, but not quite spelled the same. They're amazing. Brandon, not Brandon. There's a Chase. There's a Doogie. I can't. Like, they seem sweet, but there's just no science, you know? They never try to rule out that, like, maybe the electrical wiring in this super old building could be causing the EVP spikes right next to it. I don't know. So, it's a fun watch.
Make sure you take care. No, I was just gonna say, make sure you take care of yourself. Do you, with those stones, do you drink a lot of mineral water?
I drink filtered water. I'm actually on a medication from the stones that I was supposed to, like, at the height of the pandemic, they wouldn't see me in person. But now I'm going back for like a CT scan to see what's going on. I was diagnosed with a relatively rare disorder, but it's not being managed with all the water drinking and the prescription drugs. So yeah, I definitely need to revisit that. It's messed up my digestion. Like, I'm a hot mess right now.
The only reason why I asked is I had a friend who had those and he got them because of drinking really high content mineral water.
High content mineral water, and also that reverse osmosis, the distilled water, I guess, isn't great for your body. So yeah,
I drink reverse osmosis water. Really?
Oh, you should check into that. Your other minerals in your body are at good levels.
I've already had them. I had to get mine pulverized. They were so big, they wouldn't have passed. I don't need to get no more.
Mine don't get that big, but I get like a whole lot of them. So then, like, I can't pee and, like, I get all bloated. It's awful. So it's good times.
Fun.
Sorry to bring the party to a crushing stop, but that's why I've been on the couch watching so many shows lately.
I know that you're in pain and it's, you know, not good to have kidney stones, but thinking of just laying on a surface and watching lots of shows, like, that sounds amazing.
I know, it's driving me nuts. I'm just like, when can I get up and run around?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't even know the last time I had a day off and just didn't do anything. Like, I'm like a sloth. So this is a whole other journey for me. So yeah, I'm like, wow, you're so lucky. Just kidding.
So much fun kissing blood. Great.
I'm like, oh wow, laying on a bed or a couch watching TV. Wow.
Yeah.
Anywho, but I'm really sad that you still have kidney stones. You've had those bad boys for a while, so.
Yeah, and my mom has similar issues and just found out today she's on stage 3 out of the 5 stages of kidney failure. So I need to get my shit figured out before I'm not even 40 and end up going through the stages of kidney failure for sure. So. Yeah. On that note, I got over the Conjuring. I like the first Conjuring film. I like the films well enough. I really liked the first one when it first came out. The Conjuring universe is interesting to me. The reason why we're doing this show on the Conjuring franchise is because the newest film in the franchise, The Devil Made Me Do It, drops on HBO and to theaters this coming Friday. And I won't have my feelings hurt if you guys say you're not interested in The Conjuring, because I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to watch it because I have HBO and it'll be there and I'll be laying on the couch anyway, as we talked about. But I'm not sure if I'm into it. It feels like something I was into in high school, and I'm not into it now. Even though it was 2013, it definitely wasn't high school. But that being said, I watched these paranormal group investigations, and one of these groups was saying, well, everyone knows the story behind the real Conjuring. And I was like, I guess I don't, because each movie is about a different quote unquote, true story, from the Warrens' existence. And as we go through this, let's talk about what we do believe and what we totally don't believe, because I don't believe a lot of what the Warrens have to say. That being said, I do believe in some of the experiences that these families reported, and they're in different countries. I mean, these are completely different families. But my question to you guys is, are you still interested in The Conjuring? Will you check it out because it's there? Are you totally out and you don't care about that world anymore? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, for me, I still have to finish watching the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The one that you were talking about that's on it. I don't have, HBO, but
okay.
if you tell me it's dope, I'll give it a shot. But I can't say that this has been in the forefront of things that I could say that I'm still on board for. I still need to watch the first one. I have a feeling if I start watching the first one, I'll probably realize that I've already seen
it. Yeah, that could happen. For sure.
But you did say that you preferred the first one over the other ones, right?
Yeah, I don't care for anything in the quote unquote universe, like the Nun and Annabelle, like the concepts. To me, The Conjuring is a franchise where I enjoyed the regular Conjuring films. The other films within the quote unquote universe have more interesting stories behind them, whether they're real or not, than actual execution of the films. So I can't recommend the other films except for but when you tell the stories, I'm kind of like, ooh, that's a creepy story about a haunted doll. Like, that's a cool story, Anyway, that's my take on it. Christy, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be, I've been dreading this show because I love the Warrens. I love what they do. What they did. They're not alive anymore. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with her and first found out, I knew about them in the past, but she was on Paranormal State, and as all the shit that Paranormal State's because of the main guy, there's a lot of shade and tea going on about him, but I just really loved her in that. She was so good, so genuine, and regardless of his shit that he ended up getting into, she was the only reason why I watched the show. So then I started, and this was right after her husband died, and then I started reading their books, and I don't know. I just like what they did. I would love to have been able to do a career like that. Like, how amazing. Have awesome. A house of haunted objects, and they really have that. And I think the guy that does haunted objects either uses their museum for his collection or took on the collection or something like that. Anyway, I enjoy their books. I really, really enjoyed her. I thought just watching every show she was on, and I don't know. I just thought she was pretty amazing. She was such a grandma figure, and she walked into these haunted houses and was just like, "Oh, honey, no, it's because of this." I mean, she was just so. I don't know. I know there's a lot of controversy behind them, but they too truly hold a special place in my heart. And I know there's a lot of people, including people that are my co-hosts, that don't necessarily believe them, and I totally respect that. But I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a hard one for me. But I'm not against not hearing facts. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like la 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 when it comes to them. I really like them. I don't necessarily know if I agree with the portrayal of them in the movies. I don't know. I don't know Ed well, I don't know Elaine, but you know what I mean? I just haven't figured out how much input they really had in the movies, or if they're just basing them off a screenplay from a book they wrote, or what that situation is. I loved the first Conjuring. The second one, which one was the second one?
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to find the name of it. I don't remember. It was the Enfield haunting was what it's based off of. I don't know if that's
thought that's right. It's the one in the UK with the old man haunting. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I didn't really enjoy the movie of that story. I've loved watching the story of that on regular paranormal TV shows. The movie was okay. The third Conjuring, was that the one where she was somebody was in an apartment? They were living in
the third one's coming out Friday, so you may be thinking of Annabelle, or
I'm thinking Annabelle.
Okay, yeah.
Annabelle. Sorry. I think the Annabelle thing is pretty crazy and cool. I used to have one of those dolls, so that not the Annabelle doll,
the Raggedy Ann,
but the Raggedy Ann doll. And I truly believe in the concept of haunted dolls, and so that series is very intriguing to me. And I remember being terrified of my dolls, so that isn't that's not a huge leap for me.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike them. I know the higher you go in the number, that's usually the worse it gets. So it's I really liked the first one. The second one was okay. I watched it. It's not like The Conjuring, and I will watch if it's on TV. Like if I'm scrolling through channels, if I see it's on, I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Not the second one. I watched it the first time. I was good. So that's where I kind of stand in the whole thing. I'll go watch this, especially, is it going to be in the movie theaters? Because I'm dying to go back to a movie theater.
It's going to be, HBO and theaters this coming Friday. And the first two films are available right now on Netflix. So you can check those out if you want to get caught up.
Yeah, I'd like to just go to the movies. So maybe this will be my excuse to go.
Yeah, but we need to get Yardley to watch the first ones on Netflix for sure. So
yeah, I do. I've had them. I've had them queued up. I'm almost finished with the second one, but I have the first one queued up, and I definitely do because I enjoy watching. Farmiga. What's the woman's name?
Verma Farmiga. Yeah.
Yes.
Vera.
I think that she's a great actress, so I'm definitely gonna watch them because I think a lot of these things just on Netflix for a limited run or whatever. Yeah,
just drum up interest in the movie.
I promise I'll watch it. Maybe we'll have to do a review of the first one.
Sweet.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'd like to rewatch it before I watch the third one on Friday. Okay, so let's get into it without further ado. And Christy, we'll get into some of the issues that you talk about and what the stories are and everything in this. So sources for this included Screen Rant, Wikipedia, the New Haven Register, and the Wrap. And Yardley's going to tell us about the Warrens.
So Ed Warren was a World War II veteran and a former police officer who became a self-professed demonologist after studying the subject on his own. His wife, Lorraine, claimed to be a clairvoyant and medium who was capable of communicating with the demons that Ed discovered. In 1952, Ed and Lorraine founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They quickly gained notoriety as respected paranormal investigators after their initial investigation into the Amityville hauntings. Their most famous cases, however, were heavily popularized by the Conjuring franchise, a series of movies that focuses on Ed and Lorraine's experiences exorcising demons from possessed families. Though the movies seem over-dramatized and impossible to believe, the Warrens maintain that all of the events depicted actually transpired. Though Ed died in 2006, Lorraine was a consultant on the firm and claims that she didn't let the directors take any more dramatic license than was necessary. Do y'all believe that? that the director...
I mean, and it's James Wan. Like, he's going to take more license than necessary, at least in how he portrays, like, the ghouls, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I don't know much about when you've told a story in a book or when you've owned something like that and they turn it into a movie or a TV show, like, do they say they're not going to, and then they do, and then if they do, what happens? Or if she was just 100% signed off and said, this is perfect and exactly how I feel like the story should be told, like, I have no idea. But
would y'all say that is this James Wan's biggest claim to fame? I know that this movie isn't the movie that he's been involved with. I know this didn't make more money than Aquaman. Like, to this day, I'm just wondering how the hell did Aquaman get like $1 billion? But isn't this his main claim to fame? Or
also Insidious, I mean, again, not Aquaman money, but Insidious came right before this, I think. Okay. And that one is pretty well renowned in our quote unquote universe. So
I just wanted to see if there was really anything else that I could okay. So basically the Conjuring is like his
the whole Conjuring. Insidious is sort of in the universe of the Conjuring. So anyway, but he's done all of these. The Nun is part of it. Annabelle, obviously. I think Lights Out even was supposed to be. I don't know, man. He created this whole. It's like his own MCU, but like with CCU, the Conjuring cinematic universe.
The Nun was kind of freaky, but
yeah.
I'll have to check out some other. I mean, the universe just seems so huge. But a lot of these movies, and I know that y'all were talking about, they all have a lot of connective tissue. But a lot of times when I watch some of these movies, I just feel like you can dive into one and it doesn't really matter,
That part's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would even say, to me, I felt like The Conjuring was way scarier than Insidious. To me, Insidious, there was just I think we already had this conversation, but it really bothered me that the ghosts were just like people walking around in old-timey clothes. And I was just like, come on, like, can you even make them a little spectral or ghosty? They're not just like humans walking around like, hello, hi, how are you? Like, you just sit down like, seeing a spirit. It doesn't look like that. So that bothered me about that one. I don't know what it was, but the other thing that really bothered me about that is the astral travel thing. Like, I'm going to get woo-y, but like, I have astral traveled before, and it was an accident, and I was like totally freaked out by it. And I completely then was sucked in and obsessed with it. And the more I read about it and the more research and the more people I talked to about it, that can't happen. Like a demon, or you can't your body can't, it's still your body. There's still a tie there. There is no way for some demon to come in and like take over your body when you're astral traveling. Like, if you want to believe and suspend your belief about astral traveling, that can't happen. And so I don't know that. I mean, it is just a movie, but that, and then the spirits, like, they didn't look scary to me at all. They looked jokey. Like, I just did not in any way. There was some cool elements to it, and it was a good story. And at the very beginning, it was really creepy. But the more they got into like the scary parts of it, the less I was scared, if that makes any sense. It just didn't do it for me. Whereas The Conjuring scared me. Like, it was scary to me. So I don't know. That's just, everybody's got their whole, journey of what scares them and what doesn't. And that's why there's so many amazing horror movies. So for me, like,
sorry, James Wan went on his horror movie, shtick when he did Saw, the original Saw.
Oh,
so he created Billy the Puppet. Yeah. So that's how he kind of cut his teeth in the horror business. Sorry to interrupt.
I have not watched all of the Saws, but I give mad props to that franchise because it did well. I mean, I liked the concept. I've watched quite a few of the first half of those, but then I just kind of was like, okay.
It got to be the same thing over and over a little bit. Yeah,
let's play a game. I get it. You're going to play a game. They're all going to die. Okay. Like, only so many ways you can die in that movie. I guess not. They're going to just invent new ones. But yeah, I have huge respect for that franchise because was such a great new concept. Nobody did anything like that before. That was a whole new introduction to the horror genre. So kudos to him for hooking his train onto some really strong franchises.
Yeah.
As I pour my champagne.
I can hear it. Pop that. So tell us about the Perron family, girl.
Oh, yes. So here's the Perron family. The true story of The Conjuring begins with the first film, which focuses on the Perron family. In January 1971, which, oh my God, that movie had the greatest outfits, the Perron family moved into a 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters began to notice strange things happening almost immediately after they moved in. It started small. Carolyn would notice the broom went missing or seemed to move from place to place on its own. She would hear the sound of something scraping against the kettle in the kitchen when no one was in there. She'd find small piles of dirt in the center of a newly cleaned kitchen floor. The girls began to notice spirits around the house, though for the most part, they were harmless. There were a few, however, that were angry. Carolyn allegedly researched the history of the home and discovered that it had been in the same family for 8 generations and that many of them had died under mysterious or horrible circumstances. Several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek. One was murdered and a few of them hanged themselves in the attic. The spirit that was depicted in the film, Bathsheba, was the worst of them all.
The worst of them all. Mm-hmm. So I meant to say too, actually, I also got some of the inspiration to do this show off of Haunted Places podcast. It's a Parcast Network podcast. And it's pretty well done. It's really well produced. And they're doing a Behind the Conjuring. And the way that their show is set up is really cool because they'll start with like whether the story is true or not, whatever the scariest legend they've heard about whatever historical thing they're going to talk about, they just like make up a character and tell the legend from that character's perspective. So they told some stories about the world behind the Conjuring that made me want to pee-pee. And so I was like, that's really creepy and fun. And I don't even care if they're true. I just want to talk about them. So Bathsheba was one of the ones that really stuck with me. They're doing separate episodes for each of the Conjuring stories. So anyway, Bathsheba, the worst of them all, whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed for that position, said Andrea Perrin, the oldest of the 5 girls. It turns out there was actually a real person named Bathsheba Sherman who lived on the Perrins' property, and they know this because the librarian told them so, who lived on the property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist, and there was evidence that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child, though no trial ever took place. She was buried in a nearby Baptist cemetery in downtown Harrisville. The parents believed that it was Bathsheba's spirit that was tormenting them. According to Andrea, the family experienced other spirits as well that smelled like rotting flesh and would cause beds to rise off of the floor. She claims her father would enter the basement and feel cold, stinking presence behind him. They did a lot of cool stuff with the basement in the first film. They often stayed away from the dirt-floored cellar, but the heating equipment would often fail mysteriously, causing Roger to have to venture down. Over the 10 years that the family lived in the house, the Warrens made multiple trips to investigate. At one point, Lorraine conducted a seance to attempt to contact the spirits that were possessing the family. During the seance, Carolyn Perrin became possessed, speaking in tongues and rising from the ground in her chair. Andrea claims to have secretly witnessed this seance. I thought I was going to pass out, Andrea said. My mother began to speak in a language not of this world or in a voice of her own. In a voice not her own. Her chair levitated and she was thrown across the room. Though the movie version of the events culminates with Ed performing an exorcism rather than a seance, Lorraine insists that she and her husband would never attempt one, as they must be performed by Catholic priests. So there's one of your questions about how much control she had. After the seance, Roger kicked the Warrens out, worried about his wife's mental stability. According to Andrea, the family continued to live in the house due to financial instability until they were able to move in 1980. At which point the spirits were silenced and the haunting ceased. So, and I forgot to mention the next one that Yardley's going to talk about is from the second film.
All right. The Enfield haunting. 6 years after the Perrin family was terrorized by their demon, another family in Enfield, England, began to experience similar things. In August of 1977, the Hodgson family started seeing and hearing strange things. Janet, who was 11 at the time, recalled sitting up in bed to see her dresser slide across the room that she shared with her brother. We shouted, "Mom, Mom," said Janet. We were sort of frightened, but also intrigued. Later, the family began to hear knocking coming from all sorts of places in the house. She remembers her mom thinking there were burglars or drifters hiding out in their home and calling the police to investigate. The officer who arrived reported witnessing a chair rise up and move across the floor on its own. Reporters from the Daily Mirror, who were also called in to report on the Enfield haunting, experienced them for themselves too. See, once you got people co-signing that shit, there might be something.
This haunting was something.
Well, let me ask you something. Have y'all ever, even in these situations where they say that, because some of these things is kind of hard to find, interviews and, that type of information that, we can easily do an interview from our phone or whatever nowadays. But whenever you get people like these reporters from the Daily Mirror or law enforcement, are y'all familiar with any of these accounts from these people, them talking about it more broadly about what they saw, or is it always just a little blurb? I just never see anything extensive about other witnesses to these types of events.
This particular haunting, I've done a deep dive in, and there's been extensive accounting on it from the police, but also there's been equally extensive accounting on the fact that some of it was faked, that the family members actually admitted to it because they felt pressured by the time that things were actually legitimately very bad. That people like police or investigators would come over and they would feel this pressure to perform on demand. And so sometimes the kids would play like little jokes or make things happen. But, I don't think it's kind of like, just because you flirted with him doesn't mean you weren't raped kind of thing. Like, I don't think that a few small pranks from kids invalidates the whole thing.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was getting ready to say. And it seems like the parents had absolutely zero part in what the kids were planning. They even admitted it that, like, our parents didn't know we were planning these like side things to because they would worry that they weren't going to get help. And so they started creating things on the side just in case or just anyway. And from what I remember also with this haunting, a ton of the neighbors saw it, like all the time. Like the neighbors would go in and try to help them and leave and were scared. So, and when you have a police report that's basically saying, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah. I mean, because like the police saw it, like that's pretty crazy. So I agree with you that maybe, some of the stuff that when the investigators came was faked. I agree with you. That doesn't mean that didn't happen. I mean, I really do think, because the family were like mortified at the press they were getting, but they were so desperate they didn't know what else to do. And it never enriched their family. They never, it wasn't like it was some sort of positive for them. And I think that's one of the things that people just have a really hard time understanding is when these people go to the press, maybe now they could sell their story, but back in the 70s and 80s, like that, nobody was paying for that shit. Like they weren't making any money off that. They were genuinely looking for help unless they were just crazy, Yeah. I mean, there is no other, there really wasn't a big payoff for this stuff.
No.
There is now. People have learned how to monetize it.
Sure.
So, but again, that still doesn't mean today it's not happening. But yeah, I mean, I feel for this family. I really do. I mean, there's a lot of kids in that house. It was a single mom. And so wasn't she a single mom? Like
I think so. Yeah.
She's just trying to do her job, pay her bills, and with a ton of kids and having to handle all that. That's why I was kind of disappointed in the story they told with The Conjuring. It just didn't hit right to me. I don't know. I thought the original story was good enough. They changed it and didn't make too much of an impact. So like, kind of, why did you even add that? That's really not even as scary as some of the things that were reported that you didn't put in there, So it's kind of weird. But anyway, is it my turn?
Yeah.
My turn. Apparently Legos and marbles were reported flying around the room. Hot to the touch, when picked up, clothing folded on tabletops would leap off of them and fly across the room. The sound of dogs barking would be heard in empty rooms. Lights would flicker, coins would drop out of thin air, and furniture would tip over without being touched. Then, one day, the iron fireplace in an upstairs bedroom was ripped out of the wall. After that, paranormal investigators from all around the world showed up, claiming to be able to contact spirits and wanting to know more about the Enfield haunting. Before I keep going, does anybody think of this one as more of a poltergeist?
Yeah.
With all those girls in there?
Yeah.
I don't know, or kids. It just seemed very poltergeisty. A lot of activity, but really couldn't narrow down who or what it was.
Yeah, for sure.
There was possible like an old man or whatever, but I just don't see an old man dying in the home and then like doing all that shit. Like really?
Yeah.
He just want to sit in his chair and hang out. I don't see him being like, I'm all, throw shit and go crazy.
Maybe he wanted the kids to get off his lawn. You don't know.
Right. Well, that's like a lot of work for that when he could just sit there and not even be noticed. So, most of them decided that the children had been faking their experiences, as one of them had admitted to doing so on one occasion. But the Warrens were different. They showed up and immediately believed that a demonic presence was present. However, their claims were overlooked as a noted skeptic at the time accused Ed Warren of exaggerating and even making up incidents, often transforming a haunting into one case of demonic possession. This is where the story differs from the movie, as there was no exorcism-like practice from the Warrens. In 1979, 2 years after they began, the hauntings abruptly stopped, though the family maintains they did nothing to stop them. Again, that sounds exactly like a poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my theory on that one. Anyway, not that anybody asked.
So the upcoming movie is subtitled The Devil Made Me Do It, and it's based on an actual case. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It was inspired by Arnie Cheyenne Johnson, who went on trial and was convicted of first-degree manslaughter in 1981. Johnson's primary defense was, as previously stated, that the devil made him commit murder. And this was actually studied in law school as a landmark case because, and you'll see like even in the trailers for the films, they talk about you swear on a Bible when you go into court. Why would you then not believe per se that a devil could possess you? This was their argument anyway, to kill somebody. So, notably, it's the first case in U.S. history where the defendant has claimed demonic possession as a reason for denying personal responsibility surrounding the crime for which they're being tried. Testimony surrounding the case stated that an 11-year-old boy, David Glatzel, was possessed by 43 demons, as Ed Warren testified. That seems a bit much. See, that's where the exaggerations, I'm like, 43 demons, man.
Mm-hmm.
You really just been running around like with demon catnip and just being like, come here.
Yeah, I mean, one demon's enough. How do 43 decide?
I don't know. Especially when you're saying like astral projection doesn't make that happen. Like, I don't know how you manage, like, go straight into hell and ask the demon. Like, I don't know. Anyway, Glatzel's family asked Ed and Lorraine to assist the boy and exorcise him. The Warrens did so. See, and this contradicts, bringing in other priests, because they were saying they don't do exorcisms because that's a priest thing. But they did bring in other priests from the Catholic Church to assist them, as was customary for several of their cases. The process took several days, and during the exorcism, the demon left Glatzel. A demon left Glatzel and went into Johnson, who was the fiancé of Glatzel's older sister, Debbie. As Glatzel had been suffering for some time, the possession manifested numerous abilities, including levitating and precognition, where he predicted the murder Johnson would go on to commit. After the exorcism, Glatzel was completely cured. Johnson went on to murder his landlord, Ellen Bono, several months later. And see, that feels very unconnected, but who knows? Mm-hmm. Johnson murdered Bono after an incident regarding his untoward behavior with Debbie's 9-year-old cousin, Mary. So, these are where I raise big questions, is like, he's basically hitting on a 9-year-old or trying to put the moves on a 9-year-old. And now, the devil, it's a little sus. Debbie Glatzel was employed by Bono, and on the day of the incident, Bono took Glatzel, her cousin, and other employees to lunch. Bono got drunk, grabbed Mary, and refused to let her go when asked, and Johnson attacked him in a way that has been described like an animal. Okay, so Bono was the one. Okay, I got it wrong. My apologies. So this Bono dude, not from U2, attacked the 9-year-old, and this Johnson dude came and attacked him like an animal, stabbed him repeatedly, and he suffered 4 or 5 severe wounds, mostly to the chest, according to Johnson's lawyer.
Okay.
All right. So Johnson's defense stated that he hadn't been the same after David Glatzel's exorcism, and Lorraine Warren informed the Brookfield police that Johnson had been possessed at the time the crime was committed. Witnesses at Glatzel's exorcism stated that they saw a demon transfer from Glatzel to Johnson. Debbie Glatzel testified that Johnson's behavior was similar to Glatzel's as well. Ed Warren stated that Johnson made a fatal mistake and taunted the demon, saying, "Take me on, leave my little buddy alone." Johnson was convicted and served 5 years of his 10 to 20 year sentence. After his release, Johnson and Debbie Glatzel got married. Lorraine Warren wrote The Devil in Connecticut with Gerald Brittle about the case and shared the profits with the Glatzel family.
That part was nice.
Very nice.
Just like, take me on, leave my little buddy alone.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you never invite a demon in. That's just a sure on fate there. And they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the nun. The demon nun Valak, is that how you say it?
I think so. Valak?
Valak is a real demon. The demonic nun that is a major antagonist in The Conjuring 2 is mostly an invention of director James Wan based on conversation he had with Lorraine Warren about a spectral entity that has haunted her in her house. Valak, though, is based in demonic lore and mentioned in several books on demons from the 14th and 15th century. But the nun isn't based on a true story. The story of Valak gets fleshed out in the nun a bit, explaining how the demon haunted a convent in Romania and giving something of a reason for it appearing as a nun. But it's all invented for the series and not based on real history or the Warrens' cases. Valak, known as the Defiler, so turning positive religious imagery, scary outfits that description. The demon lore Valak is based on doesn't say anything about appearing as a nun, though. It's described as a cherub-looking child with wings and rides some kind of two-headed dragon. Well, that's way more terrifying than a nun.
Really? Yeah, when you think about it.
It is associated with serpents and snakes, though, something that makes it into the movie. Huh.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they go with the scarier version? I don't understand. Is that just too much for the mind or what?
No, Juan really just kind of takes things in his own way sometimes, for sure. And this is his world. We're all just watching movies in it. So, and then Annabelle, and we talked about her a little bit already, but the real life Annabelle story began in 1970 when a 28-year-old nurse received a Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday gift from her mom. I hope she really loved Raggedy Ann because she's like almost 30 and that's her gift from her mom. Anyway, yeah. She put the rag doll on her bed and began to notice it changing positions. The legs would be crossed or the doll would be lying on its side. Then the girl and her roommate began to find parchment paper on the floor with written messages such as, "Help me, help us." They had no parchment paper in the house. That's actually the creepiest part, honestly, is it's like not like she's using anything available to her. Mm-hmm. The doll began appearing in different rooms and at one point appeared to be leaking blood. Then one day a male friend was taking a nap and woke up with the doll staring at him. As he felt like he was being strangled. Jesus. There were deep scratch wounds in his upper body. The girls at first thought maybe an intruder was moving the doll around and leaving the notes. When they ruled that out, according to the Occult Museum website, not knowing where to turn, they contacted a medium and a seance was held. The girls were introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins, said to be a young girl that resided on the property before the apartments were built, who had died at the age of 7. According to the website, the spirit related to the medium that she felt comfort with the two roommates in the apartment and wanted to stay with them and be loved. The roommates gave Annabelle permission to inhabit the doll, but things got worse. People who don't know what they're doing should really stop giving permission to these spirits.
First of all, any spirit that wants to strangle somebody in your house, I would invite them to hang out. Like, oh, okay, is that all? Okay, well then, yeah, you can stay here and strangle some more people.
They just don't like my boyfriend, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
The Warrens took an interest in the case and contacted the women. They came to the immediate conclusion that the doll itself was not in fact possessed, but manipulated by an inhuman presence, according to the Warrens' website, which goes on to say, "Excuse me, truly the spirit was not looking to stay attached to a doll. It was looking to possess a human host." The Warrens took the doll, and Ed Warren told his wife they should avoid the highway because it was going to be a rough ride home. He was right. At some point, he had to sprinkle the Annabelle doll with holy water to calm its tits.
Can you imagine seeing a fucking Raggedy Ann doll? Like, oh my God.
Flipping
When I
shit.
think about my Raggedy Ann doll, I can't even imagine where I'd be in my life.
That's way scarier than what they ended up doing for the movie.
Yeah.
Especially the older ones. Like the ones that they had later on down the line, they ended up redesigning them. But those old school ones,
And here's the deal. Like, the Annabelle doll looks scary. Like, I'm scared of that doll. Like, that's the scary part about Raggedy Ann being haunted. The doll it's just such a harmless looking rag doll. Like, if it's haunted and trying to kill people, that's way scarier than a doll you already look at and know that thing's gonna fucking kill me. Like, no shit. It looks like it's a demon. Of course it's gonna try to kill you. But Raggedy Ann, are you kidding? Like, so little harmless, cute little triangle eyes and triangle mouth and little yarn hair and
that's what she wants you to think.
exactly.
But like, why wouldn't they just go with a more, even if they couldn't copy Raggedy Ann because it's, licensed, but then you create an equally harmless looking doll, not something that looks like Satan reincarnated in a doll. Of course. Who would want to
Christy wants to be at the helm of rewriting these movies. I'm telling you right now.
Some of these things. I would never be like, oh, look at this doll. It looks terrifying. That Annabelle doll is scary looking. Like,
all they'd probably have to do is just throw, like, say, horror parody, and then they'd be able to use the Raggedy Ann doll.
There you go. Love it.
They should have done something more innocent looking than that scary ass bitch.
So the movie Annabelle doesn't resemble the real life story. In the movie, the doll is owned by a young couple given to the woman for her doll collection. As the woman nears her pregnancy due date, a pair of satanic cultists break in, stab the pregnant woman in the belly, and end up in her home. One of the cultists is named Annabelle Higgins, and some of her blood lands on the doll. That's when the doll starts doing the over-the-top, scary things. Now, in reality, the Warrens' case with Annabelle starts in the hobby shop seen at the end of the film, where the doll was purchased by the mother of one of the nurses. Spira and Warren said they don't really care that the producers of Annabelle fabricated the story for the movie because it still serves the purpose of warning the public about demons. The Warrens decided to open the museum in the early 1980s after their collection of haunted objects began to accumulate. The Warren Occult Museum is housed in the basement of the Warrens' actual home in Monroe, Connecticut, and is full of haunted artifacts and images taken from their cases. It's home to an organ that plays itself, a mirror that is said to summon spirits, and a coffin owned by a modern vampire. To keep the evil at bay, a local priest comes once a month to bless everything on display. Speaking to a college group, the Warren's son, Spira, spent part of the talk on the eerie real-life Annabelle story and emphasized that all of the items in the family's occult museum, that doll is what I'd most be frightened of. Curators believe the doll has the power to kill, according to a film on the Annabelle case.
Nice. So this part also a scarier story that didn't make it into the movies. So it wasn't in any of the movies, but Annabelle might have a real victim. After it was in the Warren Museum, it might have inflicted its evil on someone. According to the Warrens, a man came to the museum and banged on Annabelle's case, mocking the doll until Ed Warren threw him out. Lorraine Warren claims the man's girlfriend told the pair they were laughing about the doll afterward while riding away on his motorcycle until he mysteriously lost control and crashed into a tree and died. So
Girl.
I'm not saying the doll killed him, but it's a weird ass coincidence. I thought it was like died a few weeks later. No, he died like on his way from mocking that doll. So I'm just saying.
Shit, I want to know what's in that doll or what's manipulating that doll. Because here's the thing. Here's my question. They're saying it's an outside thing manipulating the doll. So it's not possessed in the doll. Mm-hmm. So why keeping the doll in the case how does that protect anybody? Wouldn't it just go off and like manipulate another object?
Possibly.
Boom.
There you go. Christy has solved all the mysteries in the world.
Just joking. I don't know shit. I'm just wondering, like, okay, so if it's trapped, is it trapped in there, like attached? If it's not in the doll, like, why is it just that? Why is it so hooked to that doll? If it's in the case, it's just hanging out in the case, waiting for somebody to knock on it. Couldn't it be out there, like, trying to choke another person taking a nap on a couch with another doll? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm assuming it's something that they do with, if it's real, I'm assuming that something that they do with the priest stopping by and all that helps keep it bound to where they have it. That's my suspicion. And I'm also reading up on where you can see it, and apparently you cannot. It is still in Ed and Lorraine's house, but their son-in-law has closed the house to the public because it's not a museum, it's a residential house. It's a street on a narrow private roadway, inadequate for parking and commercial enterprise. So the police chief actually doesn't want to cause inconveniences to neighbors and by the traffic that it generates, which makes sense. But I kind of wish that, like, Zach Baggins has that museum in Vegas, and I will be going to it.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, I'd like it to end up there if I had my way.
There's another guy, the Haunted Collector. Have you ever seen that show? Oh, yeah. There's a guy. He has an interesting accent, so I'll just give you that one right now. But yeah, he has one
sci-fi. Too. It must be legit.
It is. I mean, it's a good show because let me tell you, he's more legit than Zach Baggins.
John Zaffis
right now
is the name of the guy. John
We're
Zaffis.
talking about legitimacy, but John Zaffis. He has a place that he keeps haunted objects, and I don't know why I thought maybe he was related to the Warrens, but his is a property and a barn in Stratford, Connecticut. Anyway, he has a show, and you should check it out if you haven't seen it because it's pretty good. I mean, his stuff and his show, the way they go through, like, finding stuff is really interesting. And so if you guys haven't watched it, you should check it out.
Yeah,
I'm
actually looking at this. It's a sci-fi show, and it ended in 2013. I don't know where you can watch it now, but
I've got my places, but okay. I was just wondering if it was like, I mean, you know, Netflix and Hulu's going to throw old school stuff like that on it all the time, but
yeah,
I'll check it out. I mean, hey, thanks for the recommendation. I'll definitely.
I've got some Einfeld stuff in here and some of the stuff we talked about today. So, broken board, that's creepy. Anyway,
go check it out, y'all.
Yeah, well, that's a good rec for the end of the show. Do we know what we're talking about for next week or nah? I'll take that as a nah. You walk away whistling, you guys. The show's over. So.
No, I don't know. I was thinking about it today on the way home from the mountains. I don't know what.
No worries. No hurries. And we'll get there when we get there. But maybe we can talk about the horror of renovating a house. Woo!
Let's the scariest story of them all. Spending thousands of dollars and not having one person rent your place. I'm just kidding. That's not a true story, but it would be a scary story.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, take me through your socials, girl, and pass it over to Yardley.
All right. You can find me at creepin'itchristy on Instagram and creepin_it on Twitter and creepin'itchristy on TikTok. Although I don't post a lot on TikTok. Nobody wants to see this face. I enjoy it. I'm on there all the time. So if you guys ever want to go and hang out and see the few videos I have posted, by all means, go for it.
Nice.
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker.
And I am at Moni Bear, Barre, across the board, or creatorsassemble.org. Thank you for listening to this. If you do end up checking out any of the films from the Conjuring universe, let us know your thoughts. Probably on our Facebook page is the best way to get a hold of us. We're still the poppin'est little place on Facebook. And we will talk to you soon. Creep it real.